protesters are really engaged in a kind of cat and mouse with protesters, with the police. What is happening is we're hearing chants from...
the army.
Hold on one second, because we're going to try to...
The army's there.
It looks...
The army's there.
Hold on.
Army guys, I have the army.
Listen, Laura, we're showing you live pictures right now of protesters that have run to an armored vehicle that they believe is the army. Now, again, I cannot confirm that. I cannot confirm who these sources are, but you can see the celebration on the faces of the protesters. A short while ago, a few minutes ago, protesters were chanting, "Where is the army? Come and save us. Where is the army? Come and save us." So the Egyptian military, which is very much respected and revered by the public, has been asking for them to intervene and protect them from the riot police. Now, I cannot confirm that that armored vehicle that you're seeing is the army, but the reaction from the protesters suggests that they are very happy to see it, which is very different from the scene that we've been seeing from other armored vehicles that are slightly different in color and slightly different in the personnel. What you're seeing there on the street, again, historic images of people. The people are celebrating. I guess you can kind of make it through the trees. You can see them raising their hands. And it's very important to, let me just put this in context, why it's so important, because obviously the Egyptian people complain to a great extent of the abuse and torture they endure, in their eyes, from the hands of the internal security forces, the internal security, and a lot of plainclothes police officers. So there's a great deal of animosity from the people towards the internal police services, which respond to the Ministry of Interior.
The government of Tunisia unraveled today.
Outside Tunisia's interior ministry, a vast crowd gathered in scenes which will send shockwaves across the Arab world. Thousands of people yelling for revolution after 23 years of being ruled by the same man. Either this is the first Arab revolution of the 21st century, or it will be brutally suppressed. Who can take over in Tunisia? Who can be... Look around you. There is a lot of people who can take over. We are not...
There is many people.
We are responsible. We are educated. We can take care of ourselves.
This is historical, what's going on right now. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. And for us to witness this and participate in it, it's incredible.
It's been a remarkable day here, and nobody knows what will happen next. A day which has witnessed a lesson in people power from the Arab world.
I am sure a revolution could take place here too. The situation in Tunisia was very similar to what we have here in Egypt.
Today you're witnessing the beginning of a revolution in Egypt. We're going to follow the Tunisian example, and inshallah we will see the Egyptian regime fall to the ground.
You may recall during the recent violent uprising in Tunisia, we reported some high anxiety in the Arab world that these kinds of protests by the people against their leaders could spread. Well, today they did.
Largest public outcry for democratic reform in Egypt in decades. Some say ever.
Really shocked everybody. The press, the protesters, nobody really imagined that they would get this big.
Behind me here, the riot police are getting into position. All day the crowds have got bigger, and just being here is a tremendous act of bravery because the government have promised to crack down on these protests.
Young and old, Christians and Muslims, students and professionals all came together for protests inspired by Tunisia's recent popular revolt. The demonstrators want to seize on the momentum for change, a moment in history they don't want to let slip by.
Will not be silenced, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're an atheist. You will demand your goddamn rights, and we will have our rights, one way or the other. We will never be silent.
We've seen Muslims and Christians, farmers and students, office workers, factory workers, men and women, all sorts of people joining in this demonstration, which has got to be the biggest one many of us have ever seen in Egypt.
People are demanding an end to corruption, to abuse, unemployment, but above all, they want to see the end of President Hosni Mubarak.
Go away, your vision. Go away, Egypt.
Keeping a watchful eye from above. A week since Egypt's uprising began and protesters are hoping for the biggest demonstration yet in Tahrir Square. Egyptians of all ages have streamed in throughout the morning, demanding their president step down from power. In the square, effigies of President Mubarak hang from the lampposts, but despite the violent imagery, the crowds have remained peaceful. The army stationed around them have kept their weapons pointing away, keeping to their promise to allow peaceful demonstrations to be held. Outside the National Party's headquarters, one of the protesters has been calling for donations of rubbish for the government.
The ground is clean. No one throw garbage on the ground. This is the National Party's headquarters. Anyone want to donate rubbish to the National Party? Anyone wants to donate to the National Party? Theft and lies. Yes to the thief. Yes to the liar. Yes to the collaborator. Donate for the National Party. Donate here for the National Party. Donate for the National Party. Donate to the tyrant. Donate to the tyrant.
Opposition activist Mohammed al-Baradi has called on the government to step aside.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Tuesday, February 1st, 2011. I'm Darko. Welcome everyone to this exclusive news bulletin on Egypt. We're just going to bust it into one video here. I'm just going to blast through some headlines to kind of give you a bigger picture of what's going on from multiple sources. Sorry about that one video, the last one from the London Telegraph. The video wasn't working well. But anyways, my website's www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. You can check out all my videos on that, and I think there was a poll on there, but now it's over. There'll be a new one on tonight. Anyways, this next article up it says 5 million whole protests in Egypt. I don't buy that. It said 1 million. It's according to the West sources, and then you got Iran saying 5 million. So, anyways, it says over 5 million Egyptians have taken to the street across the country to pressure President Hosni Mubarak and his government to step down. Next up, we have Egypt chaos pushes oil prices up. Next up, Egypt turmoil rattles Middle East stock markets. And it says here, Egypt military promises no force against protests. So we just checked that out before. And Mubarak gives army shoot-to-kill order. Embattled Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak has reportedly given his armed forces the authority to shoot to kill as an anti-government protest gain momentum. And then we have dozens dead as thousands escape Egyptian prisons. Bodies littered the road outside a Cairo prison, and troops with bayonets fixed moved into another facility after thousands of convicts broke out of jails or were abandoned by guards. In protests hit Egypt, said soldiers set up checkpoints along the Nile in the upmarket Mahdi district near the notorious Torah prison. It says searching cars for escapees as protests against Mubarak raged into a sixth straight day. Said troops took a man from a car, threw him on the ground, and tied his hands with a scarf as they did not have handcuffs. Asked why the man was detained, a soldier told AFP correspondent he's just escaped from prison. Look at this. Armed gangs free Muslim militants in Egypt. Gangs of armed men attacked at least 4 jails across Egypt before dawn on Saturday, helping to free hundreds of Muslim militants and thousands of other inmates as police vanished from the streets of Cairo and other cities. Israel urges world to curb criticism of Egypt's Mubarak. Jerusalem seeks to convince its allies that it is in the West's best interest to maintain the stability of the Egyptian regime. Then we have Israel sends SOS to the world leaders to save Mubarak. And then we have this, Israel fears cut in Egypt's gas imports. Israel fears that the ongoing popular uprising against the Egyptian President Mubarak could threaten its natural gas supplies from the North African nation. Israel arms Egypt against protesters. I also had an article up there the other day that was basically talking about how there was people on the ground reporting that a lot of the weapons that were being used were made in USA. And so we have this, Egypt, U.S. banks have $5.4 billion in exposure. According to IMF data, there's approximately $49 billion in loans outstanding to the Egypt sovereign. And then we have Egypt hired top Washington lobbyists to protect alliance, gain U.S. access. And it says here 3 of Washington's top lobbyists have helped Egyptian President Mubarak's government get access to lawmakers to protect his nation's status as a U.S. ally and major recipient of foreign aid, federal records show. Looters included undercover Egyptian police, hospitals, tell Human Rights Watch. And then we have this, another article pretty much verifying that. Eyewitnesses say state sponsoring vandalism. It says thugs looting residential neighborhoods and intimidating civilians are government hires, say eyewitnesses. And Nasser City and Eastern Cairo neighborhood residents attempting to restore security told Al-Masri Al-Yom that looters were caught yesterday. Quote, they were sent by the government. The government got them out of prison. See, there you go. The gangs that were going around were the government. You see that, guys? And told them to rob us. A resident working alongside other youths to preserve order in the district. When we caught them, they said that the Ministry of Interior had sent them. So, see, you getting the bigger picture now, what's going on? Israel agrees to some Egyptian troops in the Sinai. Israeli officials said Monday that they have agreed to let Egypt move several hundred troops into the Sinai Peninsula for the first time since the countries reached peace 3 decades ago. IMF warning of war says ready to help Egypt. And move that little guy out of the way. The IMF stands ready to help riot-torn Egypt, in other words, or basically enslave it with debt and loans, right? Rebuild its economy, the IMF chief said Tuesday as he warned governments to tackle unemployment and inequality or risk war. So you can see usually when you have a problem reaction solution that a lot of this is manipulated. Unfortunately, these poor people that are protesting are going to fall for the same thing that the American people fell for with Barack Obama. They thought they were going to get change, and they basically got the same thing, part of the two-headed monster. And basically, they represent these people. They represent these bankers. And so they will always profit off crises. And so that's why oil's up and they're profiting. Groton Guard Detachment is heading to Egypt. Connecticut National Guard Detachment Aviation Regiment of Groton has mobilized and will deploy to the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt, to support multinational force and observers. Israeli troops swarm Lebanon border. And we have this. Cairo airport, a scene of chaos as foreigners flee. Cairo ramps up evacuations. 18,000 still stuck. Airport staff were scarce. Food supplies were dwindling. Flight information was non-existent, and some policemen even demanded substantial bribes before allowing foreigners to board their planes. U.S. orders non-essential personnel to leave Egypt. Okay, so must be important people. Better get out of there. Families of top businessmen leave Egypt. All right, well, that makes sense. All is not what it seems in Egyptian clashes. And we're going to bust this into 2 videos. It says here, I'll finish up. Go to the George Soros Zibu Brzezinski's International Crisis Group's website, and you will see that the Egyptian clashes have hit surprisingly close to home for them. That's because none other than their own Mohammed el-Baradi, sitting on their board of trustees, is a self-proclaimed leader of the unrest unfolding across the streets of Cairo. The International Crisis Group's recent condemnation of el-Baradi's detention and admission of his membership amongst the group is accompanied by calls for the government to stop using violence against the protesters. Mr. el-Baradi is employed with the IAEA, says the ICG has been recently seen meddling and contributing to other color revolutions, most notably the Red Color Revolution in Thailand. And George Soros, who sits on the ICG's executive committee, is no stranger to funding color revolutions, fueling class warfare, and backing a laundry list of NGOs working as agents for the globalist agenda. So you can join us in part 2 of this GGN exclusive on the crisis in Egypt. This is GGN, and I'm Darko.